In Vardhaman village, the temperature of the street food walks is matched only by the boiling hostility between the two men standing behind them. Mahavir and Lalu spend their days in a state of constant sabotage. They intercept each other's customers on the sidewalk and weaponize their cooking as a form of territorial dominance, turning every plate of chole bhature into a middle finger aimed across the property line. Their daughters, Sakshi and Hema, are forced into a life of strategic silence. To protect their deep friendship, they have to meet in the shadows, hiding a supportive bond that their warring fathers would consider an act of betrayal. Despite the public shouting matches, neither man can look away from the other. They monitor every sale and every customer, locked in a mirrored existence where their lives are defined entirely by the rival they claim to despise. The village knows them as competitors, but their birth certificates tell a different story. Mahavir and Lalu are brothers. The bond began when Lalu was adopted into the family as a 3-month-old infant. Growing up, he idolized Mahavir, and the two spent their childhoods as an inseparable team, protected by a father who treated them as equals. That unity ended at their father's funeral. A single, successful family shop was sliced down the center, creating two identical, competing halves and a literal wall between blood relatives. Mahavir was consumed by a sense of stolen blood right. He couldn't accept surrendering half the estate to an adopted sibling, so he attempted to erase Lalu from history, burning every photograph and childhood memento until no physical evidence of their brotherhood remained. Legal definitions of ownership effectively overwrote decades of shared history. The unconditional love they once had was replaced by the cold, daily calculation of revenue and square footage. But memory is harder to burn than paper. In a forgotten chest, Sakshi discovers a scorched photograph showing two teenage boys with their arms slung happily around each other, a relic of the bond her father tried to destroy. The village sarpanch offers Lalu a chance to end the war forever. He proposes a political maneuver using tainted oil to bankrupt Mahavir's shop, promising a clean victory that would leave Lalu as the only vendor in Vardhaman. Lalu rejects the offer without hesitation. He knows that ruining Mahavir's business means Sakshi goes hungry, and he refuses to let a business rivalry inflict actual harm on a niece he still secretly loves as a daughter. Beneath the toxic shouting matches, their family's protective instinct remains intact. Their brotherhood isn't gone, it's simply waiting for a reason to wake up. That reason arrives just days before Lalu's daughter Hema is scheduled to be married. The groom's family suddenly pivots from celebration to extortion. They demand 5 lakh rupees in cash within 3 days, threatening to call off the ceremony and humiliate Lalu's family if the ransom isn't met. Lalu is pushed to his breaking point. He offers every rupee he has, but it's nowhere near enough. He faces the devastating realization that he is about to lose his daughter's future because of a debt he cannot pay. Sakshi watches the crisis unfold from across the street and makes a desperate plea to Mahavir. She begs him to put aside the land dispute and his own pride to save the man who, regardless of the law, is still his brother. The external threat acts as a final stress test on the family. The artificial boundaries of their neighborhood feud are suddenly forced to face an imminent, life-altering collapse. The groom's family finally loses patience in the village square. They violently shove Lalu backward, leaving the older man collapsed in the dust. Mahavir watches his brother hit the ground, and the learned anger of the last 20 years instantly vanishes. The sight of Lalu's public humiliation overrides every resentment he'd ever felt about the shop. He has a visceral memory of their school days, standing over a young, terrified Lalu to protect him from bullies. The instinct to shield his younger brother is a reflex he never actually lost. The primal duty of an older brother proves to be stronger than the ego of a business partner. The inheritance dispute is suddenly irrelevant. Mahavir steps between the extortionists and his brother, utterly rejecting the groom's family and their demands. He declares that Hema is his own blood, and he will never allow a daughter of his family to be sold to a house of greedy men. Mahavir pulls Lalu into an embrace that hasn't happened since their father's funeral. As they stand together, the shouting stops, and the decades of property disputes are replaced by a long overdue silence. The village wakes the next morning to see the physical barrier between the stalls is gone. The two shops have merged back into a single family business, unified under one name. Inheritance and property lines are powerful enough to split a family for a generation, but the instinct to protect the vulnerable is a foundational force that, once triggered, can shatter any wall.